Okay, so resume building. So many of you have questions like asking me how to build a good resume. What do we look out for? So this workshop is focusing on that. Like how do you interview well with Google? So it's something for yourself, but it's also something you can share with your community. Okay, so what we'll cover mainly is about building your skills. So how do you make most out of each university? Then we talk about resume tips, like how do you structure and what content to put in it. And last of all, it's technical interview preparation. Because if you really want to build your technical skills, it doesn't happen overnight, so it takes time, over time to build it. Okay, so building your skills. How many of you are like in year one? Okay, year two? Year two? Okay, some of you?
Yeah.
Oh, just finished year one. Ah, okay. And then year three? What?
Before we block it, one we will move it to the side, so everyone can see the screen.
With the folks in the middle, the content being blocked on the back, so if you can just readjust yourself from the table
To the side.
Okay.
Thank you. Sorry.
Okay. Okay, so most of you are in year three and year fours. Okay, that's a good number of you. Okay, so I'll briefly go through what about year one, which most of you have passed through. But like our recommendation on how to build your technical skills is like taking core CS classes, like just starting out, like build a good, strong foundation, and also being familiar with the codes that you're doing. So like your coursework. And doing extracurricular activities. So I think this is one thing that you can share with students who will be joining your DSC community, like they'll be volunteering, taking it up as an extracurricular. So like showing them what skills they would be able to get out of organizing DSC events with you. So I think this is one thing that you could bring to your community for that. And it's one good thing that would make them shine if they really stay enthusiastic and make a meaningful event. So skills that we would look out for like people who join as your team members would be on project coordination, or how do you manage budget, and these are the other soft skills, like how do you communicate with other parties? Is it students, or is it like other organizations? So this would be one of it. And we want to make the most out of year two. So build a stronger foundation. So I understand that most schools teach data structures and algorithm in the year two time frame, and then be very strong in one programming language. So when you interview, you would usually be asked like, what's your primary programming language? So that's the one that you want to pick, and it would be the one being assessed on. And you want to do like your own personal computer science projects, or you want to collaborate with other people. And the skills you'll be demonstrating is that you're passionate about a problem in the world, and you want to use your CS skills to solve them. So this would be what you would like to do in year two, and also maybe try out for internships. Yeah, so like, or you can do like a startup idea and all that. Then to make the most out of year three, we kind of recommend to have a very strong knowledge in data structures and algorithm. And this is what we look out for in the technical interviews. And you may take up more than one programming language, but it's like a kind of recommendation. And also have some software design experience. So is it your personal project or those collaborative projects you want to take it on in year three? And we recommend doing internships. So the internships will actually show us that you actually have experience in the real life projects, and you're taking it further than that. So it gives us an indication that you'll be doing well as a full-time role. So Google offers these industry level internships as well, which is over the summer period. Okay. And to make the most out of year four, because you are going to enter the workforce very soon. So like, how do you gear up for your next chapter? And how do you know what do you want to do? Like if you decide to do software engineering, which will be something I'll be talking a bit more about, decide that you have all the technical skills needed, as well as the other soft skills like communication and teamwork built into it. So you would really want to polish up your resume, which I will touch on later on. And also you want to allocate time to prepare well for an interview. So there's like LeetCode and other sites where there's example questions. Yesterday I talked about the tech development guide. So this is also another area you can look through to make sure that you know all the topics within the area. And it's always good to know the seniors and ask them what their interview experience has been like or what their internship experience has been like so that you can better prepare for your own interviews. So I would say advice from your seniors, staying in touch with them. Referrals is becoming a more important area. So if you know someone from the company, if you know a Googler who knows the technical work that you're doing and you're applying for a technical role, then they would be able to write recommendations for you, and this would help your application sit on top of everyone else. Because there will be someone in the company who knows something that you've been doing. So referrals is also one of the other ways that you will get your application seen more easily. Okay, so I'll give a little bit of a resume tips. So for Google applications, you can go to google.com/students, and then there will be different roles. And what we require is that you submit your resume, and the cover letter is optional. So resume becomes like one of the biggest pieces of evidence we look at before you go through at the start of the hiring process. So then after that, it's like a submit. So that's why resume for us is like it's an important element. And how we like to see it structured. So what do we look for is like education. So like when are you in school? When are you like expected to graduate? And sometimes people put their GPA, so it's like one of the optional things. But we also look at work experience because these are like the skills that we see that it would be a good fit for the role. And like projects, activities and leadership. So being a DSC lead will make you stand out in this area, especially if you can articulate like what is the key areas that you have achieved. Like maybe having an event, reaching out to a few hundred students, and you want to specify numbers, or there's like a percentage increase in something. So you want to quantify it as well, so that someone who doesn't really know what is happening in your city, in your school, get an idea of the project, the scope of project that you do, and what is the impact that you're creating. So you want to kind of like, I would like to call it like an impact story. So you're going to create the type of letting the person who reads it understand like what type of project you're doing, what's the skill, what's the scope, as well as what skills are demonstrated in your leadership skills or your ability to influence and help other people in your community. And honors and awards, so there would be things like the Women Technical Scholars, it would be like things that you do in school, or if there's some competitions that you have joined, so like you can also talk about it in this section. So we'll have some, we'll go through each section. So the education part, so it usually is the top part of the resume. And it, for recruiters, if we want to know that you're going to start in a particular year, then your graduation month and year would be very important. But if it's internships or you're not really sure of your graduation, you could still not really write it yet, but when the recruiter asks you, then you would need to give an indication. So that really helps the team know like, when to expect you to start on the role. And relevant coursework and technical skills are also the key things we look at to know that you're going to do well in the role. And for education, so this would be an example that to talk about like when you intend to graduate, what's your major, or if you have any minor, and what are your relevant coursework. So if you have done like machine learning, data structures and algorithm, or like AI kind of thing, do list it because it will give the recruiter an indication of what kind of, if you have specialization, what is it like, yeah, and then your technical skills. Okay. And for work experience, really focus on your impact, like what have you achieved. So if you write about a project, you want to know like what's the result from the project. And then you want to put things that are very relevant to the role that you have applied. Because we understand that as a student, maybe you're still in the exploring phase, but when you're submitting a resume for a particular role, then you want to know, the recruiter want to know, like, what is this experience relevant for this role that you applied? So if it's a software engineering role, then is it a particular software engineering project that you did, and then the impact that you have achieved from there? Okay, so let's have a little exercise. So this one is like a company in San Francisco software engineering intern. But can anyone tell me like what can be improved from this resume? Deployed company's new and improved in-house account reconciliation and generated daily reconciliation report for the finance team.
Like tell which techniques are we using? Like, I mean, it could be more descriptive about it. Like
Yeah.
you say that we use a hash map in it and like all these things.
Yeah, that's great. So something more specific on what are the techniques used. Yep. So I have the improved version. Yeah, spot on. So it has not only about the techniques used, but also specify the results achieved. So like, do you have 90% accuracy? But nobody knows how important 90% accuracy is. Is the norm 88%? But no, you're right. Like previously it was 45%. So that's a huge increase. And you want to say like how impactful it is. So it has reached more than 100,000 daily line items, and so these are the things that it would give details which make you stand out. And even for the report to the finance team, you cannot say that you automated the team workflow and then use 8 different tasks. So it kind of quantify as well. So it gives someone who reads it the idea like what's the scope, rather than not really understanding what the project is about or how impactful it is. So something that you have already done, but maybe it's just not articulated well enough for someone who doesn't know about it, understand the impact. So that would be the purpose of writing the details. Okay, so for projects, again, focus on the impact. So you want to say what you have accomplished and how is it measured by. So you try to quantify numbers, percent, whichever helps someone understand better. And there's the before and after. So if it's like what you did have really changed, kind of also write it down. And also the part about school versus personal means that if you did it as a school group project, they can write it, so because it indicates teamwork. And then you can also say what role you played within the school project. Is it team leader, or are you specializing in a particular part of the project? And then personal project would be like passion project, or something that you do on your own that's not part of the school curriculum. So these would be some project examples. So the group project that you did, you use C++, and it provides the webmail storage service. Then you did do a comparison like Gmail, like Google Drive. And what's the objective is to build a fault-tolerant load balancing cloud platform. And then when you say from scratch, then we understand, oh, this is like how the building process is like, versus something that you're improving a feature on that already has an existing platform, because it's like slightly different skills. And the other one would be like a personal project that you use Objective-C, and you kind of bold the languages that you use so it kind of stands out, and the person reading your resume would know what it's referring to. And the second one would talk about there's like more than 300 downloads, and about rating as well, because it is an app that you have on the store. Okay, so activities and leadership, yes, it's something that you tell us what excites you. And one thing at Google is that there is always opportunity to do extra, like what I call like extracurricular activities, things that are outside your core role, but still it's something that you're really, really passionate about and you want to make a difference. So this is one area we look at because there is so much opportunities to collaborate with other departments, other teams. So with what you have in school, you can talk about what excites you. Being a DSC lead excites you. And so what have you done? Like what's the club? How has it grown? Like you're growing your membership, and what kind of events that you're doing that's creating an impact. So results that come out from there. But other than that, if you have done like programming competitions, so we have our Kickstart coding competition, you can also write it there. And like being a TA, teaching assistant, so that would be really good to tell us that you know the technical skills such that you're even teaching others. And coaching is a very big part at Google. So you may have a particular specialized skill, but there's so many other people who want to learn, and that is how when you say you're a TA, we get an idea that, oh, you're also teaching a module that you're good at, and it gives us a good indication that you would do well in the company. So if you did research, you can also talk about it, as well as open source projects. So you can write your GitHub kind of a link so that we also know about the other wonderful projects that you are doing. So these are some examples of being like a co-founder of an analytics community, and then you can talk about your membership. It's like from 50 to 300, but if you're the founding club leader, you can talk about like you're the first to start the club, and within what time frame, like within a year, how many membership have you grown it to? Or you did a partnership with a different university, so it was, you did a collaboration with another university in the same city, so there's something that you can say. So this one, it has collaborated to plan an annual data visualization hackathon. So these are all ideas that as a DSC lead you'll be doing, and you can write it as part of your resume so that anyone reading it would get a good feel like, wow, this is the amazing impact that you're doing. So you're really passionate about your community. Then the other one is examples about being a teaching assistant. So for introduction to data structures, so you can talk about the weekly office hours for how many students, like 25, that's about like a class. And what language was it? It was debugging in Java. And you supervise other TAs, or you led other TAs in something. So this is things that you want to quantify and also show your impact. Then you have the honors and awards. So in addition to all the amazing things you have done, what else sets you apart? So this would be your academic awards, or if you have done speaking, like you have gone to conference and you've been invited to speak, be in a panel, like these are all opportunities you can take up, and it will show that you are really contributing a lot. And if you have publications or presentations that you've done at a conference, do write it, because it indicates that you are trying to be a top leader in your field, and if you're going for a very technical role, this would really make you shine. Okay, so we have an example here. So being this is Pen Apps, so as using Java and doing a crowdsourced lost and found app. And then this is one of the competition where this person has got second place among 250 projects. And why is it so? So it's for originality, UX, smooth implementation. So it's always good to look at the criteria of a competition, because they have this selection criteria, and you stood up for something, you could write it in to show what is the project that you're winning for, and why is it so. So it indicates how you are like for winning the competition, because someone who reads about a competition may not know what's the key objective or what's the selection criteria. Then there is one about Olympiad. So this person was a pre-collegiate math competition. So it's also like being like representing your school, your country. So these are all one of the examples. The last one is about leadership development program. So definitely can write about being a DSC lead, and you were selected from the number of applicants. I think they mentioned like more than 1,000. So you already have like one of the lines here. Yeah, and then you can add on details of what else you do as a DSC lead to show that you stand out. Okay, so I'm moving on to the next section. For Google application process, after the resume screen, we would have our technical interviews. So they either happen through Hangouts, so it's online, or you'll go to the nearest engineering office near Pakistan. So that it would be an on-site technical interviews. So I will go through what is it like for each of them. So what we look out for would be actually 4 areas. So it would be how a candidate thinks. So we call it like the thinking process. So sometimes when you're given a problem to solve, how will you solve this problem? So one of the ways is also to understand, like having problem definition, understanding what the problem is like. So what you would expect is that when you're asked to, like this is the problems, you would want to clarify what is the problem to solve. So there would be an example later on. The other piece would be leadership skills. So to us at Google, leadership is not just formal leadership. So you can get the title, like I'm a DSC lead. But more than that, like there could be instances, actually many instances where you are not given the title that you are the leader, but there are many ways that you can still show up and be a leader, which means that do you know a lot more of the technical, like the knowledge, and other people in your community don't know. So you could show up as being a technical leader in that sense without having the title, because you could share your expertise. You could also be a leader in terms of like being influencing. So like your team needs to get something done, and you know someone else who knows it better. So you have a very wide network, and so you're a leader in that way. So there is many ways to be a leader, not just through the title. And that is something that we look out for. So taking the initiative to get things done. The other piece is role-related knowledge, which includes technical skills. So for us, it would be assessed through our coding interview. So you actually have to do coding so that we know whether you're doing it well and what is your how do you do it. So that is a little interlinked. And the last part is googliness. So googliness is something that if you ask any Googler, they'll give you a slightly different answer. But the key part of it is that you actually care about getting the project done well, and you're like a general sense, like you're a good person in the team. So like someone wants you to be part of their team. So that is the piece on googliness. And there are many aspects of it. One of it that I see consistently is being very comfortable with ambiguity, which means that when there's something, a vague situation, you can clarify, you stand up and make things happen. So there is one big part where you are comfortable with frequent changes, because that happens a lot for us. Like the signpost seems to be changing, but you want to know what is the key objective for it, and then you move on from there. So that is what you do as a good team member to get the project ahead and forward so that you could launch something. Okay, so I'll just give a brief overview of what is the process like when you're interviewing with us. So resume screening starts first, and then there's an online assessment that comes with it. So that would be like the coding assessment, and it's about 45 minutes long. Then after that, if you get through for full-time roles, you get a phone interview. So now usually it's one phone interview because we know it's a very long process for you, so we try to shorten this as much as possible. Then there will be 5 on-site interviews where 4 of it is on technical coding interview. So if you're applying for other roles that are not software engineering, you still have at least 4 interviews, but we call it the role-related knowledge interview, which means that if it's a product management role, then the 4 interviews will be focused on product management skills. But don't worry about all these, because once a recruiter reaches out to you, then you can ask any question. So if you're not clear what's expected for this particular interview, you can ask. So how we do it is that we will tell you the objective of this interview is to evaluate your technical skills. Then you know it's a technical interview. And we have one interview that is googliness / leadership. So that is our non-technical interview. And you can also clarify, what does leadership mean? What does googliness mean? And you will get help or an explanation for what to expect. So don't worry about that. So these are the part where you have to be actively involved, the phone interview and the on-site interview. And if it's to a different location, we actually fly you there, we cover all the costs. Then after that is committee review, because the way we we make decisions at Google is that no one person has like full power. Like the manager can't decide, oh, I want this person in my team. So it's actually a committee that decides that is a good fit for Google, and that's why this candidate would join Google. So it's actually done as a team, and the committee members are different from the interviewers. So interviewers can give strong recommendation for a candidate to join, but you need, like, there will be 5 data points because of there's 5 on-site interviews, and there was also data point as a phone interview. And then the committee decides as a whole, like overall, maybe one was not very good, but the other said that was recommended for hire. Then the candidate would still could get a recommendation for hire at the end of this committee review. And if everything goes smoothly, then it comes to an offer. So this is how it's like for a full-time role. And for internships, we have a slight difference in the middle part. So it's not as intense with the on-site interviews. So mostly it will be phone interviews. This time it's about 2 phone interviews, because right after that, then it will be a decision of if it goes through smoothly for like a hire, then it becomes a review and what we call a post-match. So it's essentially like a project matching session where candidates or you will get to see, talk to managers who have projects for internships. And this is what happens, like you have a match, like an interest match. The manager also decides that, okay, we're having this intern for the summer. And then it goes to committee review, which is a holistic view of the whole packet, that's what we call it. And then everything goes smoothly, it goes to an offer. Okay. And I'll go through more on the interview format when you have to prepare for it. What we usually have is 45 minutes long. And we start with short introductions, like, you know, a bit on, like, oh, how was your trip to this office? And you can also ask some questions on your interviewer's background. And after that is the real technical assessment. So you get a question, and you have about 35 minutes to go through it. I'll go through like what are the things to do in the interview that help you get through it smoothly, help you stand out as well. And then when we end with like a bit of a closing question. So what I would say is that always to have a clear communication with your interviewer. So what we really like is that if you can verbalize your thoughts. We understand that many people like to code in silence, right? Like you don't really keep talking and code, like it's like too much multitasking. But because of the interview, you want the interviewer to know how you are thinking, because they will help you out if you're thinking in not in the way they're expecting, because they have to develop like this question and ask you more sub-questions in the entire 35 minutes when you're doing the technical question. So when you ask about the question, like you want to confirm this is the problem to solve, or you ask clarifying question, does it mean this, it helps the interviewer know that, oh, you're getting the question. And so you really want you to think out loud. So if you want to draw some pictures or give some examples, like is it all numbers, is it all letters that I need to sort? If the question is about sorting, you could like articulate it and give that some simple examples. So if you prefer to think in silence, which actually a lot of our Google engineers do, what they would do is that they would say that I'm better at coding, have focus in coding. So what you do is that you can say something like, I will be coding this. Then you can code in silence. And then after that, you will say, next, I will do something. Then you can still code in silence. It's also perfectly all right. Like you don't have to always verbalize and code in case you make mistakes or you're really slow at it. So like we don't really force people like you only do one way. So there's actually many ways to go about it, but the key reason for verbalizing your thoughts is so that we know how you think, and we will optimize the 35 minutes so that you don't waste too much time just at the front of the question, because there's still developments that come along the way. Yeah, so so listen to your interviewer, because actually, if you're already at the interview stage, they want you to succeed. So they want you to go through the interview process smoothly, and they will give you prompts if you're really like off. And it's also one way for us to see how do you receive feedback, or how do you clarify it? Because that is very normal in the way we do projects. Like sometimes, if you're not on the path that the manager wants, they kind of give you hints to, like, why not think about something else? And we want to see that you're quite receptive to it. Okay. So view the session more as a discussion, more two-way, almost as though the interviewer is going to be your teammate, because that's what you're going to assess on. So for the interview assessment, what we look at for the engineering skills would be data structures and algorithm, which I've said many, many times. Problem solving and analytical skills. How do you understand code, and then how do you communicate it to us? So there are some myths, like people say oh, there is brain teasers, but we don't do that anymore. We won't ask you how many basketballs fit into this room. No, we don't do that anymore. So you wouldn't be seeing these brain teasers. We'll be asking coding questions. So these would be things that you can consider when you're interviewing. So how do you analyze the problem? Or do you think about the special cases, the edge cases? Yeah. And what is your approach to the problem? Is it more, what's the method that you're using? And we actually expect you to do working code. So you can have some pseudo code at the start, but clarify with your interviewer. And did you test the code? Is it a clean code? Did you explain your ideas clearly? And are you nice to work with? Because in the end, if we ask the candidate is successful, you're actually joining us as a team. So we also want to know that you're a great person to work with. For a phone interview, some of the tips we have is that you really need to type the solution. So we'll have a shared document. And find a quiet location. It's 45 minutes long. So you also want to have a good internet connection, because that is, you only have 45 minutes. You don't want it to waste into getting connection. Yeah, so have pen and paper ready if you want to scribble some quick notes or make some outline. And so you have to share your thoughts out loud, and remember to manually indent, because it usually is Google Doc document. Okay, so these are some general guidelines on topics you should know, but it's definitely not exhaustive. So it's the different coding languages, or the algorithms, so sorting, searching, big O analysis, data structures, so lists, stacks, trees, sets, hashes, or heaps. So this would be some of the topics that definitely could be one of the questions you get in one of your 4 technical interviews. Okay. I see all of you taking pictures. Okay, so how to prepare for an interview. So definitely you have to invest time. I know a lot of engineers say that what they do is to allocate time each day or each week that they cover all the topics, so that they're well prepared for the interview. So review the fundamentals, and also practice with a friend if that works for you, so that you have someone to talk to, you get some feedback as well, and you can keep each other accountable to make sure you're always practicing. Okay, and this part about accommodations is that if you're traveling, so I would say that most of you will be traveling if you get the interview to the nearest location. So you need to let them know that you need accommodations, and Google will cover for it. Okay, so I'll cover some of the common mistakes that we kind of see among the interviews. So first thing is about jumping into code. So sometimes we notice that candidates are very anxious to get through the question. They'll quickly start coding. So what we actually recommend is to start with asking clarifying questions, and then reinstate the questions to the interviewer, because we care a lot more about how do you get to the answer rather than the answer itself, because it's the whole process, the whole thinking process. The next one is about examples and testing. So we actually recommend that you give a simple example to start with. So think about the edge cases, and we always ask to analyze the complexity and how do you improve that solution. Yeah, so this is what we really recommend to do within that 35 minutes. The next one is like some people think that, oh, they don't have to write real code, they just have pseudocode and all that. It's all right to communicate your initial thinking. However, it is if the interviewer is expecting you to write real code, you have to. Otherwise, like, they would think that you're not doing what they're expecting you to do. And there is this piece about premature optimization. So we actually recommend that you think about the complexity of a solution, and then again say like, why is it, why you think you can't get a better solution, and or not. Like sometimes the key follow-up questions from the interviewer is, can you do better? Can it be improved? And if you think that it cannot be improved, like do explain why rather than just saying no. Like, because they want to know your thinking process. And you can actually start with brute force, but you're expected to do something better than that. So then that is one thing that we're looking for. Yep, so we have reached the end. So do we have time for questions? Like 2 minutes?
Q&A after.
Oh, after this? Okay. Okay, great. So I'll pass the time back